Hello guys, how's everyone doing? This is my first time ever going live and I thought I would do a Q&A. So if anyone has any questions about blood sugar, insulin resistance, anything like that, leave them down below and I will answer them. Hey guys, thanks for joining in. How's everyone doing? Happy Valentine's Day. All right, I have a few. Hey Healer, how's it going? Already diabetic, that means that you have insulin resistance. HOMA-IR is a test that tests both your fasting blood sugar and your fasting insulin, and it basically tells you how much insulin is needed to keep your blood sugar in check. So I recommend a HOMA-IR test for someone who thinks they're insulin resistant, but their blood sugar, their fasting blood sugar looks normal, because insulin resistance starts years before someone's blood sugar starts to go up. So if you suspect you're insulin resistant, if you have the signs and symptoms of insulin resistance, if you're having trouble losing weight, then you can do a HOMA-IR test. And if your blood sugar is normal, but your insulin is high, this means your body needs a lot of insulin in order to keep your blood sugar where it is, and that means you're insulin resistant to some degree. So if you're already type 2 diabetic, then your insulin resistance has already progressed to a point where your blood sugar has gone up. So no, there's not a point in doing HOMA-IR. All right. Hi, Ethan. How's it going? Does anyone have any big plans for this weekend? Videos where I had a couple dates and the dates spiked my blood sugar, and then I added 1 tablespoon of peanut butter and that helped to lower my blood sugar spike. I think I posted that like a day or two ago. You can see it on my profile. But someone was asking about if the peanut butter had sugar in it. So no, the peanut butter that I used had no added sugar, no added oil. If you were to have a peanut butter that had added sugar, then it probably, your blood sugar would still go up a little bit more than the peanut butter without added sugar. And the reason that the peanut butter is so effective here is because dates contain quite a bit of sugar. So depending on how many you eat, if you have only one, your blood sugar probably isn't going to go up that much. But if you have like 3, 4, 5, then yeah, they can cause a pretty big spike. But fat and protein and fiber help to slow down the digestion of carbohydrates and sugar. So if you add a little bit of peanut butter to something that's higher in sugar, another example of this is if you're having a banana and you add a little bit of peanut butter, it slows down the digestion so less sugar enters your bloodstream all at once, and then your blood sugar doesn't go up as rapidly and less insulin is needed all at once. And that's why having peanut butter with something that's a little bit sugary can be a really good hack. But again, you want to choose a peanut butter that doesn't have any added sugar and ideally no added oil as well. Thank you for the gift, PJNF Kingdom. All right. Video the other day on allulose and whether that spikes blood sugar. So if you guys aren't familiar, this is a little bit of a newer sweetener in the last couple of years. It's actually a natural type of sugar. It's considered to be a rare sugar. It comes from foods like figs and that sort of thing, but it's metabolized differently than other types of sugar, so it doesn't cause a blood sugar spike at all. But I think it's just about as sweet as regular sugar, and you buy it in powder form. So it's really good for like baking and incorporating into cooking and that sort of thing. It dissolves really well. So it's a really good sweetener, and it doesn't have the aftertaste that stevia has. But someone asked me if it has carbohydrates. So I think like it does contain carbs because it is a sugar, like I just said, but just because of the way it's metabolized, it doesn't raise your blood sugar. So it's kind of similar to if you think of fiber, and when you're calculating like the net carbs in something, how you subtract the fiber, and you do that because you don't digest fiber, so it doesn't have the same impact as other carbs have. So it's kind of like that. And the same with like sugar alcohol. So yes, it is a carbohydrate, but because it is metabolized differently, it doesn't cause a spike. So the carbs in allulose don't really mean anything. Okay, Sam asked the best way to lower insulin. So basically, the best way to lower your insulin levels are to reduce your need for insulin. So every time your blood sugar goes up, that's when your body needs to release insulin to take the excess sugar from your bloodstream and bring it to your cells. So anything you can do to reduce this need is going to help. And basically this comes down to, and this is why I talk about this so much, balancing your blood sugar. Because if you don't have those big blood sugar spikes throughout the day, then less insulin is going to be needed. Your body won't need to be producing as much. This is going to bring down your fasting insulin levels. And when your fasting insulin levels start to come down, then this is when your cells become more insulin sensitive again. So basically, the way you become insulin resistant is when your insulin levels are high for long periods of time, and your cells are already full with glucose, and the insulin is just trying to shove more in there, but they're already full. And that's when your cells start resisting insulin, hence insulin resistance. So when your insulin level's lower, then your cells become more sensitive to it again. So yeah, basically it comes down to keeping your blood sugar better in control, controlling your blood sugar better. So starting your day with a meal that's high in protein and fat, limiting your carbs first thing in the morning. When you do have carbs, being smart about them. So you can do little things like having apple cider vinegar before you eat a meal that's high in carbohydrates, because this helps to make your cells more insulin sensitive as well. So less of a blood sugar spike. Exercise is really good for lowering your insulin levels, because when you're exercising, your muscles can take in glucose without insulin. So this is a really great hack. Walking before or after a meal. This also helps your body use the energy, use the sugar that's in your bloodstream immediately. So those, just all those little things. And it doesn't need to be really big changes. If you can just do these small things. Not snacking, that's another really big one. If you can have just 2 to 3 meals in a day, and make sure you're getting enough protein in those meals, make sure you're getting enough fat in those meals, and just not snacking in between. Because every time you eat, your blood sugar, your insulin is going to bump up a little bit. So if you can have more time in between your meals, it just allows your body more time for your insulin to come back down to baseline and to improve your insulin sensitivity once again. So not a fan of snacking. If you are going to snack, choose things that are high in protein and fat, because again, less blood sugar, your blood sugar is not going to go up as much, and not as much insulin is going to be needed. Okay. I hope that made sense. I hope I'm not rambling. Probably am. Okay. Zach said insulin. Okay, Zach, are you type 1 diabetic, type 2 diabetic? I don't know why you need 600 carbs in a day and why you're taking insulin. Lion Cage, is one big meal okay? Because that's how I eat. Well, when you're asking if something's okay, you really just have to ask yourself, am I progressing towards my goals? Is this working for me? So I know a lot of people are big fans of intermittent fasting for controlling blood sugar and lowering insulin levels, reversing insulin resistance. I personally think that 2 to 3 meals is the ideal strategy for most people. And that's for a couple different reasons. The first one being that it's really hard to get enough protein in to meet your protein needs when you're having just 1 meal a day. Ideally, everyone should be getting 1 gram of protein per pound of their ideal body weight. So if the ideal body weight for you is 130 pounds, for example, you want to be getting 130 grams of protein in during the day. And that is very, very difficult to get at one meal. So that's the first reason that I'm not a huge fan of 1 meal a day, or OMAD as it's sometimes called. Now, the reason that it can be effective is because you spend so much of your day in a fasted state. And like I was saying with the snacking, when you're in this fasted state and your insulin comes down, that's when your insulin sensitivity is improving. That's when you're burning more fat, because when insulin is low, insulin is the fat storage hormone. So when it's high, you're storing fat. When it's low, you're burning fat. So if you're eating enough at that one meal, if you're getting enough protein in, if you're not feeling hungry throughout the day, if it's something that you can stick to and you're progressing towards your goals, then that's totally fine. Someone said, you look like Jennifer Carpenter. Okay, I only get this online. No one tells me that in person, but I get this all the time on YouTube and here on TikTok. Do you want to know the other person who I'm told all the time online that I look like, but not in real life? Ronaldo. Let me know if you guys see it, because I don't know. I don't know. That one just completely blows my mind. Okay, so I have a question here. I have a son that's 5 years old who is insulin resistant, and I struggle with his meal ideas. All right, my first question is going to be, how do you know he's insulin resistant? Has he had his insulin levels tested? Because the thing with kids is they are so metabolically flexible. Kids actually spend a large portion of their day in ketosis. It's a lot easier for them to bounce between burning glucose and burning fat for energy. And this is why kids can get away with eating a bit more junk food. Of course, it's going to catch up at a certain point, but kids can have more carbohydrates and still be metabolically flexible. Now, ideally, you want to be getting those carbohydrates through whole food, as you do with adults. 5 years old with insulin resistance is very, very young. I'm curious how you know he's insulin resistant, or if you just suspect. With that being said, what you want to do is focus all of his meals around whole foods. Make sure there's a protein source at every meal, ideally animal protein, because this is the most bioavailable. So have some beef, some chicken, some eggs every single meal. Then add some fruits and vegetables. And like I said, with kids, because they are so metabolically flexible, you don't need to be as concerned about carbohydrate amounts if it's coming from whole foods. Now, of course, if you're having a lot of processed foods, cereal, chips, that sort of thing, then that's when we run into trouble. But like sweet potatoes, blueberries, avocado, coconut, all those things are great. Some sourdough bread, can be good as well. Yeah. Okay, so sub 400 said, I have 7.8 A1C. Do I need to take metformin, or can it be managed by lifestyle changes? So metformin is very effective because it improves insulin sensitivity, which helps to bring your fasting blood sugar and your A1C down. Now, you don't have to take it. Obviously, talk to your doctor, but there are things you can do, and that's what I've been talking about in this live, that can improve your insulin sensitivity naturally. So have a similar effect to metformin. So those are all the things I spoke about earlier. Starting your day with protein and fat, not snacking in between meals, taking a walk before or after exercise. Another really good hack that helps to bring down your fasting blood sugar is taking 1 to 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar diluted in water before bed. And this has been scientifically proven to bring down your fasting blood sugar the following day. So that's another little thing. Also, berberine works in a similar way to metformin, and it's a natural supplement that comes with fewer side effects. So that can be something to explore. Talk to your doctor though. In general, I do think metformin can be a good option, and it can be combined with these diet and lifestyle changes for quicker results. But the downside to metformin is it often comes with a lot of side effects, especially like digestive side effects. Now, sometimes these will stop after a few weeks, but sometimes they continue on. I've heard of people having these years down the line taking metformin. So it's up to you. Talk to your doctor again, but there are things you can do to bring your A1C down naturally. Okay, so I have a question here. What if someone has a kidney condition, same amount of protein? So if you already have kidney damage, this is the only time, well, not the only time, but this is a time when you need to eat less protein. For anyone who has healthy working kidneys, there's this myth that you can eat too much protein and that it will damage your kidneys. This isn't true. Too much protein will not damage your kidneys, but if your kidneys already have some damage, then you need to be a little bit more mindful with your protein. Hi, Gemma. Welcome. If I'm focused on gut health, should I be avoiding rolled oats? I don't specialize and I don't know too much about gut health. In general, I'm not a huge fan of oats for breakfast, at least, and for people who have insulin resistance, just because they are mainly carbohydrates. They don't have that much nutritional value. They don't have a lot of protein. They can be hard to digest as well. So that's another aspect to it. I would say I can't give you an exact answer on that one. Sorry. Yeah, I know. There's a lot of conflicting advice out there in general for everything. Like anything you Google, you can find one side to it and then a completely opposite opinion. It's so hard to navigate. And that's why I think that you know your body best. If what you're eating is agreeing with you, if you're progressing towards your goals, if you're getting the results you want, if you're feeling good day to day, if it's easy for you to stick to, then those are all positive signs that you're doing something right. Now, if you're not progressing to your goals, if you're feeling like crap, if your blood sugar is getting higher and not lower, those sort of things, then that's where you're going to want to adjust. Okay, I have PCOS. I do intermittent fasting and take metformin, myo-inositol, and berberine. Weight loss is still a struggle. Okay, it sounds like you're taking a lot for it. All of those things are positive. And intermittent fasting. What's your intermittent fasting schedule? Because with PCOS and with insulin resistance, and especially for women, if you're stressing your body out too much, then this can cause your cortisol to go up, and this can stall your weight loss. So that could be something to explore. Maybe less intermittent fasting. I used to be a huge advocate for intermittent fasting, full stop. But the more research I've done, the more I've come to realize that for women, we need to take a different approach. And even depending on the where we are in our cycle, it's better for women to intermittent fast in the first half of their cycle, not as beneficial in the second half. Just little things like that. So I'm curious to know what your intermittent fasting schedule is like, how long you're fasting each day. In general, I think doing a 12-hour fasting schedule, maybe 14 hours, maybe up to 16 hours, this is going to be beneficial and like the best approach for most women, because you're still able to have a 12 to 8 hour feeding window. And yeah, it's just less stressful. I feel like I'm in a constant fight or flight. What does that do to your body? When you're in this state, your stress is high, your cortisol is high, and it's inflammatory for the body. Basically, everything's on high alert. When your cortisol's up, then your body again is storing fat and not burning it. So from a weight loss and weight maintenance perspective, it's not great. When you have chronic inflammation, which will be caused from chronic stress, this can damage other things in your body. Yeah, so it's not great. Okay, Marie, I assume she's referring to her blood sugar. She says, mine goes up to 230 when I eat, then 20 minutes later it crashes down to 40/50. All right, so it sounds like you're experiencing what's known as reactive hypoglycemia. This is an early sign of insulin resistance. It basically happens when your insulin levels are already very high at baseline, and then you eat, and then your body takes too much sugar out of your bloodstream, and that's when it comes crashing down. So like we were speaking about before, it comes down to balancing your blood sugar, because if you can avoid these spikes, that's when your cells are going to be able to become more insulin sensitive, and that will bring your fasting insulin down, so you won't have such a big drop after you eat. All right. Okay. Back to the PCOS question. She said, I alternate between 16/8 and alternate day fasting. I did keto as well, and in a year lost less than 30 kilos. Okay, well, that, like, 30 kilos, that's absolutely huge. Yeah, 16/8 I think is the best approach. Alternate day fasting I think is most beneficial for people who have like a lot of weight to lose. For if you're just overweight and not clinically obese, then I think alternate day fasting can be a little bit much. If you do still want to do it, like I said, assuming you are not in menopause, I can't tell at all, but if you're pre-menopause, then in the first half of your cycle, that would be the time to do alternate day fasting. Top Flight Security, thanks for joining in. Okay, he said, I do 18 to 22 hours a day. I hate it when I don't get at least 18. Okay, you sound pretty competitive. What are your goals? What are you trying to achieve with intermittent fasting? But I do get it. And it is good to have that goal and have that baseline. Otherwise, things can get a little bit out of control. Okay, Marie. Okay, so your A1C is 5.5. Have you had your fasting insulin or your HOMA-IR tested? Because it sounds like you're in the early stages of insulin resistance and it hasn't quite progressed, or it's just getting into pre-diabetes. I think if you had your fasting insulin tested, you would be very surprised at how high it is. My sugars are always around 220 in the morning, no matter what I do. All right, so how many meals are you eating in a day? Are you doing any intermittent fasting? How many carbohydrates are you eating? Are you getting enough protein and fat at every meal? Like I mentioned a few minutes ago, taking apple cider vinegar before bed, 1 to 2 tablespoons diluted in water. This can help to bring down your fasting numbers. Going for a walk in the morning as well. But some of these things, like the apple cider vinegar before bed, it's a quick fix. It will help over time as well, but you really want to just be building good habits, and that's ultimately what's going to bring your fasting blood sugar down over time. Is there a fix for high cortisol? It's tricky because a lot of the solutions for bringing your cortisol down come down to like breath work, meditation, that sort of thing. If you can look up non-sleep deep rest protocols on YouTube or on Spotify. There's some you can listen to. And these are a type of meditation that can really help as well. It just takes 5-10 minutes. Beyond that, things like ashwagandha, that can be used to help regulate your cortisol levels. But again, that's only going to be sort of a temporary fix. Happy Valentine's Day, Bat Boy. Hey, from Australia too. I'm in South Australia. Where are you from? Okay, is it better to fast in the morning or the afternoon? Now, a lot of people who recommend intermittent fasting, kind of the general recommendation is to like skip breakfast, try to push your first meal till midday, and then like stop eating at 8 p.m. That's the standard 16-8 fasting window. I find that for a lot of people, eating earlier in the day and sort of shifting your feeding window earlier and fasting in the afternoon is more beneficial. And that's for a few different reasons. The first one being, I think that a lot of people find it hard to skip breakfast, especially if you're in the habit of eating breakfast every day. So eating in the morning, that can be a little bit easier mentally. And also, if you stop eating earlier, if you have your last meal at like 4, 5, 6 p.m., this gives your body enough time to digest your food before you go to bed. And if your food is fully digested, this allows your body to get into that rest and repair state quicker. If you eat right before you go to bed, this significantly decreases your recovery, and it just gives your body less time overnight to heal, to repair. Your insulin sensitivity can increase a lot during this time. So that's why I think eating in the morning and having a bit of an earlier feeding window works well for a lot of people. Okay. I switched to an early time restricted feeding, works better for me instead of eating later. Yep, exactly. And yeah, I think it's just easier mentally for a lot of people. And like I said, just having that time to digest your food before going to bed significantly improves your sleep. Oh, hello. People tuning in from Africa. So we can eat at around 11 a.m. and stop eating at 7 p.m. Yep. I think that is like, if that works for you, I think that's a great approach. Thanks, Marie. Did you follow me on TikTok or on YouTube first? I feel like I have a completely different group of people here on TikTok than on YouTube. I've been on YouTube for so long, and yeah, I feel like I have a really strong like community of people there who have been around for years, and even the new people who tune in. Yeah, I feel like we have a really good community there. TikTok, this is my first live ever, but I don't know, just because your videos can reach, just the way the algorithm works, it's just like such a mixed box over here. I feel like a lot of people who get pushed at your videos aren't actually subscribed to you on TikTok. So yeah, it's fun. I like TikTok though. And the lives like this as well. Like these are great. Well, I mean, this is my first one, so far so good, I think. Hey, Ash. Yay. Oh, that's so good. Well, thank you for being with me here on TikTok. You're very welcome, Giorgio. And if you guys aren't following me on YouTube, I do 2 to 3 videos a week over there and full-length videos. Mainly, again, focused on blood sugar, insulin resistance, PCOS, that sort of thing. So just like longer form. I try to do like 1 podcast episode a week that's about half an hour, and then most of my other videos are like 7 to maybe 12 minutes. Yes, we are still in summer here in Australia. It's actually, I was going to say a bit cooler here. It's about 25, well, it's going to be 25 Celsius today. 2 days ago, it was 43 degrees Celsius here, which I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit, but very, very hot. My doctor says that I'm not pre-diabetic for the longest time. They did all sorts of tests. Yeah, but this is the thing. Doctors aren't testing fasting insulin. They do blood sugar tests, they test A1C, but that misses insulin resistance because your insulin is high, but that high insulin is what's controlling your blood sugar and making it look normal. Oh, it's so frustrating though. And because fasting insulin isn't typically covered by insurance, and a lot of doctors don't understand the significance of it. There's such a focus on blood sugar. A lot of doctors aren't willing to run the tests, which is so frustrating. That's why I find if you ask for a HOMA-IR test, for some reason, they are more willing to do that. And that's just a test that tests your fasting blood sugar and your fasting insulin. I mentioned it a bit earlier in this live, so maybe you can ask for that. But yeah, it's frustrating. Yep. Making sure that when you're having carbs, you're adding fat and protein to them can be so, so helpful. And I love this because it's not about taking things away. It's about adding them in. And yeah, if you add fat and protein to your carbs, you're going to have less of a blood sugar spike. It's not going to come crashing down after. You're going to have fewer cravings. You're going to feel more satisfied because of the protein and the fat. All right, someone just called me fat. Love that. I can assure you I am not fat. I'm actually an elite athlete, so yeah, Marie, so you can ask for fasting insulin or ask for HOMA-IR, so HOMA-IR, and that's going to test your glucose and your insulin. Wow, I'm getting trolled here. Yeah, an A1C test is an average of your blood sugar over 3 months, and that misses insulin resistance in the early stages. Oh. A1C can be a good test, but it's only going to catch insulin resistance and diabetes after it's progressed. Collagen and mushroom powders. I don't know too much about mushroom powders. Collagen can be beneficial just in the sense that it's good for your muscles, your tissue, your joints, that sort of thing, depending on the one you get. It's not specifically going to be good for insulin resistance or blood sugar in the sense that it's a protein and it will help to slow down the digestion of carbs and control blood sugar better. It'll help in that sense. Hi, I eat 3 bananas every day. Is this okay? Well, it depends on context, right? So if you're having trouble controlling your blood sugar, then 3 bananas, I think a banana has something like 21 grams of carbs, 25, 21, something like that, depending on how big it is. Like 20 to 25 grams of carbs, grams of sugar. So just from bananas, you're probably getting upwards of 75 grams of sugar in during the day. So, and also depending on how ripe they are. Yeah, it just comes down to your goals. If you're trying to control your blood sugar better and bring your fasting blood sugar down, improve your insulin sensitivity, then it might be better to switch to lower sugar fruit. So try things like berries. If you are going to have bananas, like we've been talking about, add some protein and fat to them. So a little bit of peanut butter can help to slow down digestion and avoid blood sugar spikes. But then for someone who is an athlete and, for example, you need that quick energy before workouts, then bananas can be beneficial. Okay, Disco Boy said, I think I might be having blood sugar issues. Keep getting headaches after eating and so tired. Yep, those can definitely be signs of reactive hypoglycemia, which again, early sign of insulin resistance. When your blood sugar spikes up a lot and then comes crashing down, during that crash, you can have fatigue, have headaches, that sort of thing. And the fix to that is just avoiding the spikes, right? So as I talk about on my page all the time, anything you can do to minimize spikes, lower them when they do happen, try to have them happen less often. This is all going to help. Yep, peanut butter can be good. Well, good, it depends in what sense you're talking, but having a peanut butter that has no added sugar and no added oil can definitely help with blood sugar control. Yeah, blood sugar in the 50s is pretty low. Are you experiencing symptoms of, was this the same person? Are you experiencing symptoms of hypoglycemia? Like, are you shaky after you're eating, and that sort of thing? Because some people can just have baseline lower blood sugar and they don't experience the side effects. And in that case, it can be okay. Thank you for the rose. So eating less sugary things, or what could I eat? Yeah, less sugary things. When you are having your meals, focusing them around protein. So you want a protein source at the center of all of your meals. I'm a huge advocate for animal protein because it's more bioavailable, comes with fewer carbs, more nutritious. So having protein at the center of every meal you have, and then from there, if you can add non-starchy vegetables and low sugar fruit, some nuts, some seeds, that sort of thing, focusing on whole foods, that's going to be like a huge thing as well. Are you of the belief that you can overdo protein? I try to get at least 210 grams. That is on the higher side. I find with protein, it's hard to overconsume because it is so filling. And there's something known as the protein leverage hypothesis, which basically states that you will continue to be hungry until your protein needs are met. So if you eat a meal and you're still hungry afterwards, but you've had enough calories, if you haven't had enough protein, you're still going to be hungry. And this is why it's so easy to pick on things like French fries and overconsume them, because they don't have a lot of protein. They're high in carbs. They have fat. Yeah, but not enough protein. And that's why it can sometimes feel like your stomach's a bottomless pit and you can just keep picking at them. Whereas with foods that are rich in protein, you can't really do the same thing. Like you can't just be eating a steak and then just be full and keep eating it. You know, it's a different type of full that you feel. So that's why I think it's very hard to overconsume protein. Yeah, gastric bypass can make things a little bit more complicated. But again, if you are reducing your body's need to produce insulin to control your blood sugar, then this is just going to be beneficial either way. So coconut water is actually mainly sugar. I've done tests on my page, looking at my blood sugar after drinking coconut water. It's not going to help stabilize it because coconut water, like I said, it's mainly sugar, barely has any protein, barely has any fat. It does have some electrolytes, which have other benefits, but in terms of controlling your blood sugar, coconut water isn't going to. Now, coconut oil, on the other hand, which is entirely fat, that can help to control blood sugar. Or like coconut meat, shredded coconut, that's mainly fat as well, so that can be good. All right, I'm going to end this here, but thank you guys for tuning in. I might do this again soon, so yeah, hopefully I will catch you guys again soon. Hope you have a great weekend. Bye, guys.